and what's going to be a little weird is I'm going to demo it first as a volunteer will see it. So none of the part you really, I mean, you guys will go in and volunteer for some campaigns, hopefully, so you'll see it from that. And then I'll show it as a manager. Reason I'm doing that is the important part of this, in my opinion, is that people come in and they sign up to volunteer and they show up. And if it's good at that, the rest of it's hopefully good, but if it's not, then sorry, some more people showing up. You guys will still be thrilled with it. And so to me, that's the central thing. Then I'll go through the thing as on as a manager, and that's 90% of the time in here. And then the remaining part is just any questions you have, and then I have some questions for all of you guys. And then I have some resources, and I'll send you all this thing. So, going as a volunteer, get that out of the way, get that very much out of the way. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, good. This is the dashboard for a volunteer. And central to this whole thing is what it's showing is, I will click on this part in just a second. It's showing a suggested for upcoming tasks. And we do 4 because most people are not on a giant screen like me. Most volunteers will see this on their cell phone. And it might actually work better. All right, this is not exactly a cell phone, but we're now seeing it for a volunteer's world. This is akin to a cell phone. And there is a fair amount of AI going on behind the scenes, and this is going to get a lot better. It is showing the upcoming events that we think this volunteer is most likely to sign up for. This includes how soon they are. It includes the interest and the tags they're going for. It includes the campaign they're on. It includes the locations, how far they are away. And so instead of just blasting them with a fire hose of stuff, we are trying very hard to say, hey, you are very likely to want to do, and I'm sorry, I'm showing you the wrong one. These are the tasks this person has already signed up for. But what it pulls elsewhere is gigantic to that. So it comes in, you're signed up for 5 tasks and you're interested in one more, and check out more. The other thing we do is we give the ability, and I will show you this in a second, to say that you're interested. And then the other thing in the dashboard is they rate the events. And that is gigantic because from that, we get more information on what to show them in the future. And then we randomly grab news from any of the campaigns or party, county parties, state parties they've shown they're interested in, and it shows who they're following. All right, so you go into here, and this is the movie marquee, I call it, where you can go through looking at events that you might find interesting. Now, you can click nope, and we will never show you that one again. And we will take that into account and will be less likely to show you similar ones in the future. You can say you're interested, or you can say sign me up. Now, the beauty of interested is an awful lot of people are wary of going, am I really going to be available this upcoming Saturday in the afternoon? Am I going to be willing to get out of the house and go do it, blah, blah, blah. Interested lets us know to remind them about it, ping them about it, and it gives all of you the knowledge that they're interested. So if you go to an event, when we show it to you in a bit, and you really need 8 people to go door to door, and there's only 3 that have signed up for it, but there's another 5 that have said they're interested, you know who to go ask. So anyways, this is the marquee where you go through and you find different ones. And up here, this is letting you know that it's for the, I've got the Hickenlooper and the Frisk campaign in there. I know Hick's not running right now. And that this is set up as canvassing. This one is a fundraiser and so forth. Now, another way they can go look is go into the calendar. And in the calendar, we're going to set it to show just the Frisk campaign. And do a monthly look. And I'm going to go a little bit wider because month doesn't work. This is sort of weird because it knows it's not on a cell phone, so it gets sort of squirrely on what it shows. And then you click on one of these, already signed up. That's why the red is there. You click here, you can sign up. So if you're looking at it and you're going, I want to know what I can do on the 26th that's available, you've got it here. Now, the next way you can do it is searching. And hang on 1 second, some more people just joined, so I am promoting them to participant. So they can ask questions. And these are what we call cards. So each one in here is as a card. You've got what they are. And the little heart here is, I like fundraisers. I click this and I'm saying I'm not that wild on fundraisers. And I personally would much rather canvas than do a fundraiser. So you can go through here and the ordering again is based on using that AI to find them, to present the things we think they're most likely to do. The other view of it is the map, and Nicole's on here. Nicole, this is due to you, and I sweated blood for a month on this. So Nicole, you are required to say this is cool. Everyone else can say whatever on it. Let's take out fundraising so we get more stuff. And so you've got various things going on in here, and then you can click in here. And these are all at the exact same location, so it shows up like this. These over here are not in the same location, so it will zoom in. And we can show, we've tested 100,000 events in the map. We're assuming then that you are seeing a lot of the world. And it will do it. Now with the 100,000, it can take about 4 seconds to display everything. And you can scroll around the world and go wherever. The final thing to show on this for a user is what's gigantic to all this is they're putting in their address and putting in what they're interested in. What campaigns or parties are they following? What are their interests? What are the tags? The more they tell us about themselves, the better we can do on showing them everything going on. And then the final things I want to show you is this is a user profile. It's not showing for some reason. Organization profile. And an event profile where we're showing everything in there. So now we're going to log out and log back in as the Hickenlooper manager. All right, so as the Hickenlooper manager, you have the organizations that you're in charge of. And I'm not even going to talk about that. But this is where you set who are the administrators and managers and so forth in the event. Here you have your upcoming, and I use the term tasks because a task can be an event or job. And a job or project is something that, from what I've seen, Van and Mobilize is not the concept of. But job is design a website or do all the prep work for a fundraiser or so forth. They may have a done by date, but they are not a scheduled item. And you can look at the upcoming tasks you have set up in here for the day, nothing. 3 days, nothing. 1 week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, so forth. I'm sorry, somebody had a question? I think somebody had a question, but so I can't hear you. Okay. Finalize events is once an event is over, you go in and put in how successful the event was, and on each of the volunteers, you say how good the volunteer was at it. We are not planning on telling volunteers anything about how you rated them. But the idea behind that is if a volunteer is consistently bad at fundraising, but great at canvassing, we don't show them fundraising events, even if they say they like them. We show them the canvassing events. It also, over time, lets us tell you which ones are superstars, so you know, if you've got 4 people that say they're interested in an event, we're in the future going to be able to say, and this one knocks it out of the park at it. Well, that's the one you call if you need one more. We also have it. Where do we go? There can be tasks awaiting approval. And what that is for is if a volunteer or someone just marks as a host, you can have it set up. You can say you want semantic analysis done of the event they put in. And if they put in celebrate Joe Biden, it's going to have a high number is bad. It's going to have a number like 10. And if you go for semantic approval, it's immediately public, available, people can go do it. If you put in one that says Trump for president, it comes in at an 80 and it will be marked private. That person will not be able to create any more events until you go in and determine what's going on. This does not make a final decision. This only sets it private and puts it in these tasks awaiting approval. By the same measure, if you put in what you would call angry speech or whatever, it may still be very pro-democratic, but it's, you know, like if you have the word kill in there, it's going to require approval before it goes anywhere. And with that, rather than just going through and hitting you with any, rather than going into details, there are a lot of little details I can show you. I don't know which ones you all will care about. So at this point, I am opening it up to questions. And please, somebody ask a question so I know you all can with the way I have it set up.
Hey, David, can you tell me you've built in some Twilio notification flows on this one?
Yeah.
Are those different forks for interested versus going? Like, what is that? Does that look the exact same on what the user gets?
Yeah, good question. Anyone who's interested will get all the same automated announcements. And so that is any change in location or time, 48 hours beforehand, 8 hours beforehand. However, if you go up here, if you choose to broadcast to everybody, this is any message you need. Like, let's say President Biden's going to be there, so Secret Service, you got to tell everybody get there a half hour early, you know, something like that. On that one, you check whether or not it should go to the people who are interested. And to the attending, you can send actually a broadcast just to the people who are interested. So you might want to broadcast out to just the interested people of, we desperately need 3 more people, please consider. Sounds like a personal touch, but if there's 15 people interested, you just hit all 15.
Cool, thank you.
So question for you, is that a good or a bad thing that we're hitting the interested on any location time updates and on the reminders?
Personally, that's a great thing. I didn't even know you had broadcasts built into here, which is also pretty neat.
Okay. Come
Hi, I
on.
have a question.
Yeah, okay, good.
Um, and I didn't get an invite to this, but is the assumption that all the volunteers would also be users of the app? And does this app have the ability to send out emails outside of the app and notify people by other means?
Interesting question. You can go in without registering. And without registering, you can do the movie marquee where you go through and you can do the search, either the list or the map. You cannot do the calendar because the calendar is per campaign. And if you haven't registered, we don't know what you're interested in. And that would just be a mess. But a user, if they register, they're global to the system. They are not per campaign or per party or per anything else. And so we've got them all in there. I do have everything set up to do a weekly newsletter to everybody that they can sign up for or, take themselves out of getting notified. Everything's in there to do a broadcast per se on everything. And it's also, I think, one question away from being integrated with Van. And that's one of my questions. I have some questions for all of you in there. So I can get them into Van. I could probably even mark them. But what I really would need from all of you is exactly what. One thing I did on this is I built this thing. It's funny, I've looked at Van. An awful lot of the fundamental foundation Van has, I have. I went way overboard and there's a lot more in here than is needed for that. So that can be done. That can be done pretty easily. I would need from you all exactly what you want.
So again, though, can this app message out to people via email, even if they're not members or using the app?
No, you would have to register.
Okay.
Okay. I'll put on my hat from my previous company where we blasted out marketing, we internally called it spam, and sent it out. You actually could give me a spreadsheet. I could dump in, 10 million voters. But the thing is, if you get into that, we're talking another product, I would say, which I'm actually happy to do. I've been having a blast building this thing. But I think that I think, and if you tell me I'm wrong, I will defer to all of you. But I would say really, if Nicole and Joe tell me, no, go do this, I'll go do it. But I personally think get this up there working and there will be some additional things needed. And then as you all build up, now what about doing X? We do product number 2.
I think so. I think if most most like organizer users presumably would have an email tool that they would already have an opted-in list for, and so they would send out an email in that tool, whether that's NGP or MailChimp or Action Network or whatever, that would have a link to these events. And then somebody could sign up for the event and then they would become a user, would be the flow. But they wouldn't need to be a user before receiving an email with a link to it.
Correct. And absolutely it could be done to, if there are a couple common programs where, like Van, where by my talking to them, there are certain ones I should just sync across and they've got them, I can do that.
Yeah, I think having this synced into so that the event attendees would go into Van would probably be the most useful.
Okay. Yeah, basically on anything like that going forward, I don't want it well, actually, one of the things I'll show you is an ideas page, and we can run it through that where people put it up. I want to make sure that one of the worst things I can do is put in every little feature someone asks for, because it instantly becomes so complex it becomes hard to use. And one of the things that struck me looking at Van is there's a lot you have to do to really understand that program. And I am very proud of the fact that at my previous company, Windward, we took that for 17 years, and we still had a handful of things you set on the fundamental things, and that were tags. And it, they started off with some of them, they had 2 properties, and by the time I sold the company 17 years later, they had 4 properties. We kept it so bloody simple. It was very powerful. You could do anything under the sun with it, but the learning curve was 5 minutes. And so I want to make sure that what we put in here is, if everybody's a little bit disappointed, but everybody can use it, and the learning curve is 5 minutes, then I've done it right. And so going forward, that to me is the big thing. I can add anything. We got to be very careful about what's added. And by the way, while you're all on here, I want to introduce Derek. Every great part of the UX and the UI is due to them. Every single part. Every bad part is my influence. And Vitaly, this is a rock solid program because of him. And Vitaly's over in Kharkiv, Ukraine. And he worked for me in QA at my previous company and is now doing this. And without these two, this thing would have been awful. All right, next question. There has to be more
I
questions.
I don't know that that's a fair characterization, but I'll let you make your piece the way you want to make it.
So this is Jared Munger. I'm the Morgan County Dems chair. I also work in identity and access management during the day.
Uh-huh.
So I'm technically a DBA. Anyway, my question is, you've talked about you connecting to Van. Whose instance of Van are you actually connecting to? Because the state party has theirs, us as counties, we all have our own. And for those of us who ever update an email address in our own and don't get emails from the state, have learned that the hard way. So how are you actually updating Van with your data if we all have our own instances? I know they're called committees, but they're instances of Van.
Right. First of all, the last thing I want to do is, first do no harm. From everything I've seen and from what's going on, I think the best way to do it is when an event's created here, I copy it over to Van. So that's the not the 0 database, but the 1 database. And if I can match a user, I'll match it and take it through. If not, I will leave it up to the campaign if they want me to push that user up or not. All of that will be done with that campaign's Van API key. And so everything will be done talking to the specific data on a campaign by campaign basis, because every event is for a campaign.
So you're really building this out for campaigns, not for county parties. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, no, and county parties, also state party, an organization. Under the cover is called an organization. Organization can be the U.S. It can be the Biden campaign, which is a campaign under the U.S. It can be a state, and under the state, a county or a campaign. And so, yes, absolutely, county parties. I would love to have the state parties use it.
What happened?
Oh,
My next question comes into some of the cross-functional things that have happened to me, because I've also been the Stonewall chair. Let's say I'm the Stonewall chair now. I come in here and I set up my event for the Denver Pride event, but then the state party comes in and sets up their own, and the Denver Dems set up their own, and let's say the Arapahoe County Dems set up their own.
okay.
Do those 4 instances, do those 4 events know that they're all the same thing?
No, nobody told me about that.
There's a reason why I'm on here. And it's because I could be a pain in the ass.
Oh, no, this, you have to understand, I've done this blindly. Joe and Davis have been a giant help, but their help has been when I was smart enough to ask a question, they've answered it. And so, yeah, stuff like this. So I don't want to bore everybody else with this. You and I are going to have to talk after this.
Now, that is a great question, Jared.
We
And
will.
so, yeah, so David, the goal here, and this, this is also an issue with, it's the exact thing that happens in Mobilize, is that multiple organizations can create events that are all happening at the same physical time, date, and place. And would there be a way to elegantly solve that problem? I mean, it's the same problem as exists on Facebook. I don't know that there's a great solution except preemptive planning, but it's a problem that's out there, and having the ability to designate events as able to build on themselves,
Mhm.
or to identify like a primary instance where the other events would be mirrors that would aggregate a total attendance, for example. There could definitely be difficulties, managing that. Like the Arapaho Dems might want to specifically silo their membership, attending the Denver Pride Parade. But it would also be nice for each organization that's going to the same event to have maybe this option of how do we aggregate. Silo is probably the necessary default, just because of the difficulty of solving that problem, and maybe people want to keep it that way. But it's a great question.
All right, so it's not that we could say create it at the state level and everybody else can basically be linked to it and it shows on from them also. You're saying that you have this one event, but everybody does want to keep parts of it to themselves. Is that correct?
Well, it's because of the lack of collaboration that we all have an issue with, is actually planning these events and not knowing that other organizations or other parts of the party are doing the same events. And so sometimes it could be like with Pride, Stonewall generally gets the booth, but let's say Arapaho isn't doing the booth this year. Like, then they could just set it up so that they can ask for their people to be part of the parade. Like, there's definitely different areas of events that can be, as Joe said, siloed, but the overall event itself is now technically, it's four entities that are, in charge of the same event, but they're doing different things because, they didn't talk to each other before putting it in here.
All right, this would not be that hard to do, but I'm gonna need really detailed specifics from you all of exactly how. This is one of those things that the programming and the database, no problem. But I could, based off what you guys just told me, I could do something where you all go yuck, or I could do something where you guys all tell me it's beautiful. I need you guys to tell me what beautiful is for that. And not right now. But are one of you willing to take on defining exactly what you want for this? Don't everybody volunteer at once.
I mean, I've definitely
no.
got time to think about it. I know Jared's got opinions. I think the main thing is sketching out if you've got a single event that has multiple campaigns or organizations collaborating,
Mhm.
is that a structure that can be built out? There's still going to be some hard walls, like can you, I'm not aware of really the capability to create multiple, or multiple, if somebody signs up for this event, like which instance of my campaign is that sign up going into?
Right.
I think you still have to have an overriding sole instance that kind of governs the attendee management. I don't know how you can copy that sign up to multiple My Campaigns at the same time. That doesn't sound easy to me, if it's even doable.
Oh, no,
So-
that's trivial to do. No, the big problem is what do I do for the user interface so that I am actually presenting what you want, so that, is it Arapahoe County showing up? Is it Denver County? Or is this someone volunteering for the Pride Parade? And then both Arapahoe and Denver County get to know about this person.
I didn't even think about the interface for the actual volunteer. I was thinking about it as the person from Stonewall. It's got like the event on it. I didn't even think about people going and seeing that, hey, these 6 entities are all have the same event going on. Which one do I pick? That's a whole nother issue.
Yeah. And the last thing is, I don't want to give the volunteer coming in 4 events on there saying, go to one of these, and they're actually all the same event. That's a horrible thing. Is let's put that one, put it up front center first, blinking or whatever. But yeah, to me, everything starts at what do we present to the volunteer? Because to me, the giant thing is getting these people to sign up and then show up.
Well, that's where the ideal thing would be to have one event, but then they could see it would, Denver Pride,
Uh-huh.
an event by Colorado Dems, Stonewall Initiative, Denver Dems, Arapahoe Dems, whoever else.
Right. And you guys
And
need,
so they could see it no matter which one they're a member of, but
Mhm.
that no matter which organization they're using to access the event, they see in all cases all the organizations that are co-organizing the event.
yeah, and that again we can do.
Say, David, won't volunteers, if they are looking at a map or a schedule, won't they see many of the same events anyway? And having done things like the Women's March, I don't think it's a huge priority to have. I mean, each of us as an organizer will have different sets of volunteers, and we will have different human beings who are organizing and will be needing to hook up with the volunteers at the site. So I think it's okay to have different different Ohana events at the same event. I think at the Women's March, there could be hundreds of organizers trying to bring their volunteers, to collect with them. In fact, I think that was common. So I guess I'm not seeing this as the highest priority thing to solve. That's just my opinion. I know Jared and Joe may have different opinions, but I think we've all been to large events with multiple organizers. And in my view, focusing on the volunteers and the relationship with their organizer and organizing group is the crux of the matter. In other words,
Yeah.
I mean, what is the utility of having all of them together? I think the volunteer is going to see it if they say, okay, on Saturday in Denver, what's going on? They're going to see all these.
Mhm.
And depending on the relationship with the different organizations, they may say, oh, okay, I really want to see Gay to hook up with Stonewall because I know those people.
Mhm.
Or so I guess to me it's not the most important thing to solve. And I know we would all like to have everything roll up and be
Mhm.
not have any duplication and stuff like that, but some of these events are messy, and I think the cure is for the organizing groups to get together. So I have done organizing events with 8 indivisible groups that are all coming, and we just share links and stuff. So if we choose to, so that people get to see the different events. Now we didn't have a wonderful app like this to organize the volunteers, but even without it, in other words, we were all using different apps to promote our, our different micro events at a large event, but I don't recall it being a huge problem.
Well, let me show you one thing I've got. I have a thing here where anybody can put in suggestions for it. Now, something this fundamental, I don't think is necessarily the way to go, but this is one thing we can do where everything goes around in this. I do think on something this fundamental, one or two of you, I just don't know this world. And so, nor does Derek, nor does Vitaly. And so the biggest thing, to Bruce's point, is one or two of you have got to come up with, first of all, the question is this good enough to use now? I think it is. I think it's something that beats the snot out of, spreadsheets and emails and everything else. And from what I've seen of Mobilize, plus mine's free, I think it beats the snot out of that. But then, assuming it is, and, campaigns and county parties and some state parties start using it, then the next question is, what do you want next? And it's got to be more than a sentence. It's got to be, this is the specifics. And if the biggie is, what do we do in the case of, everybody doing a pride, being at the same pride parade? It might be it's not that big a problem with the way this is structured. It might be it is, in which case we do something. Anything you want, I can implement pretty quickly. It's just, what do we do? And above all, keeping it simple for all of the people on your end and keeping it compelling for all the volunteers that show up. And that brings me to my questions.
Dave, you have a hand raise. Bruce has his hand raised.
I'm sorry, I need to lower it.
Huh.
I already
Okay.
spoke.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
There was also a chat question about the cost of the program. You want to address that?
Yeah, the cost is free. It is an in-kind contribution by me, valued at, I think it's $150 a month, which should be fine for anything except possibly if there's a state limitations around 6-year Senate races that are severe limits on the amount of money that can be donated. But yeah, for everybody else, it's an in-kind donation by me at $150 a month. So free.
So to be clear, the out-of-pocket cost for a campaign, a county, whatever, is zero.
Correct. Time, but no money.
Right.
I assume that's okay with everybody. But it does require one giant thing, is somebody in any state that a county or a campaign wants to use it, I need someone in that state that you guys are going to have to designate someone that verifies, yes, this is a legitimate operative for that state party, and that individual will determine if somebody else asking truly is a county party or a Democratic candidate. Because with it being free, there's going to be a number of bad actors that would otherwise happily sign up and, put up some bogus campaign. The worst case would be under the name of a real candidate, but they're doing awful things. All right, let me hit you with my questions. The first one is, would it pay to have a mode that there's a link from a county party or a campaign that takes you to the site and they now see only things for that organization? So they're now only seeing the events for that county party or for that campaign. But they would then have to click on something on the website to kick themselves back into global mode. And if you don't answer, I'll just put that up on that list of possible things to do.
Dave, there's one vote in the chat for yes.
Okay,
And just to be clear, this is just a filter you toggle on or off, right? Just
Yeah.
visibility, see only events by this county, in this county, by this campaign, for this campaign, etc.
correct. It's a, you know, everywhere where it's deciding what to show you, one of the things that'll then be absolute is only for this organization. And we'll put that up at the top that that's what's going on. But unless if they log out, that goes away. And if they click a little thing up there to revert, it goes away. Otherwise, they're now in that mode.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Does the van integration work to ensure that the users are actual Democrats?
I can poll whether or not an individual with that email and phone number is in the van database. So to that extent, yes. But I was not planning on doing that when they register. Would that be of value?
It sounds like a pretty easy to use and open app, and I could imagine our Republican neighbors wanting to get in and mess with it, or
Mhm.
Lord knows what.
That can be done.
David, did we kind of go with that initial user, trusted user, the sort of hierarchy where anybody can sign up, but then to actually do things? I know you talked about some of the AI flags earlier, but in terms of connecting a user with a record in the voter file to verify democratic registration, that seems possible, but also tricky since you're interacting with my campaign and not my voters.
Well, no, what I want to do in that case is see if I can get a license with Van on the My Voter database to use for this one purpose to verify someone who's registered. Do they have a Van ID? And then the other question becomes, if they don't have a Van ID, do we let them sign up? I mean, we clearly would not let them create an event in that case, but can they still, if someone's an independent, can they sign up to go to the Pride Parade?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't
Confidential
think Dave's-
voters. Confidential
I don't
voters
think-
are banned. Some of our big volunteers are confidential voters, so they would not be able to use it then.
I mean, what if you're doing a voter registration event? You're gonna have unregistered voters. There's all kinds of reasons to put someone without a van ID on there.
Good point. And well, at the moment, it's not required in any way, shape, or form. And this comes back to, because I don't know, I mean, to a large degree, I know you guys didn't ask for this, but Joe and Nicole, it's to a large degree, if you say it needs to do X, it'll do X. And if you say it should not do Y, it will not do Y.
You know, this is something
I
we
think-
need to deal with constantly. We can always have a Republican troll walk up to a campaign and ask to go canvass for them.
Uh-huh.
And it's up to the organizer to sniff it out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, any intelligence you can give on the volunteer would be very helpful, because, you know, typically an organizer won't have a whole lot, but I mean, this is just something campaigns have to face. I think, like, I've sat in an office being a canvas captain, and I might have 50 people an hour walking through. And, I mean, and the campaign survived.
Mhm.
It is something you have to watch out for, though. I don't know. Some AI on the person would be really wonderful, but I don't think it's something we can cure.
Right.
Or the campaign would have to create the rules
Mhm.
for this specific event to make it really a little more rigorous.
Yeah, I don't think, assuming, they register, if they don't register, I can't do squat. And we get their email and phone number, and off of that, that's sort of the key to who they are. There is stuff being done out there right now. It's being done for HR departments on hiring to pull stuff together on people. And I have kept my eye on it because it is of interest for this. They aren't there yet. But 5 years from now, could there be something where it, and again, gives you that context of a number of 0 to 100, and 0, don't worry at all, and 100 is this person shouldn't be anywhere near you, and in between there, it's just telling you how whether or not you should ask them a couple of additional questions before moving forward. But that is not something I can give you today.
Could there be, and maybe this is a bad idea because it would really slow down participation potentially, but a gatekeeping process whereby when people register as pending until the organizer for that event has a chance to look them up in Van or some other source and clear them to be a participant?
That's very, well, not only is that doable, but yeah.
It might be a nice toggle to have for more sensitive events. Like you couldn't do that for something as huge as the Women's March, but for event access control for a more sensitive, smaller attendance event, if that might be something that we could turn on and off, it's a good idea.
Yeah. You've got right now the list of everybody who's volunteered. Yeah, if there's something else you want me to do around that to put on there, but again, I could definitely put whether or not they're in Van. But
And you could put on there what their history is volunteering through Ohana.
And that I can do that. At the moment, no one's got any history. But yeah, I am sucking that stuff down like crazy. And I absolutely, my plan was to put a 5 stars over there, and, like on a rating, a red star, red star, red star, a star outline, a star outline. So there are 3 out of 5. And have it that if you click on that, it brings up the specifics and it would show you. They have volunteered these 20 times. These are the outside ratings they got from the people at it. And when you, that's the finally. So you're going in here and you're rating each of these volunteers, as to how helpful they were. And so we can absolutely take that out and show that here.
And David, is that local to the campaign or is that information about that volunteer shared?
That's global. Everything about a user is global. But it is not put back in their face. I mean, we can, but I think that, there are places where you get a rating. There's a site called Stack Overflow I'm on, and, you get points and everything else. I don't particularly care about it, but I know a lot of people live for that. So we can show it and, they can work to get a high rating. But my view on that stuff is we do honest feedback among all of you. And then it's only among all of you, you see, what the rating is. And it might be that, okay, we will put the stars over here but only the sum total and not show the specifics, because then somebody sooner or later is gonna see their rating, see the specific and go yell at somebody. And in that case, you only show their stars if they've done 5 or more events, but we can say they have done, 18 events and their rating on average is this many stars. That's a very safe thing to do. I worry about doing the wrong thing. That's why I record no demographics about somebody. Because if I have their gender and their age and their race and everything else, it's going to get used by the AI. And then you're going to raise holy hell when the AI, essentially stereotypes.
David, it could be possible, some of us will have some things, like you said, where we really need a lot of help. Is it possible to give that event, volunteers for that event, more something like points as opposed to,
Yeah,
I don't know, other things where we get lots of volunteers?
that can be done. I also have stuff in there for the campaigns and counties to prioritize the events. I haven't put it into the UI yet, and therefore the ones you give a higher priority will be more likely to be shown to them. It's not a guarantee, but it's one more thing that feeds into it. But yeah, there's a giant thing around doing social media stuff on this, where people can get points and awards and badges and scores. And I actually was assuming that would be the big thing that we would do once we got this up and running. And that, yes, that is, stuff like that is on my list, but it will be much more for you guys to tell me, what do you want added to this and what comes first?
Again, the user is what they see is global, all events, and I guess potentially anyone who has access to the app as a manager sees all users globally. Is that true? Or only those that sign up on a per event status basis?
Well, you, as a manager, you can search for users. And again, they're global. And then, yeah, when you see, like, Boulder Volunteer here has volunteered for this event, but that does not mean that, they're anything special to the Hickenlooper campaign, except for the fact that they're following them.
And so does the say the county party, would the county party have the ability to flag someone as suspicious or negative in some way?
Yes.
Okay. But not in terms of poisoning their reputation for the whole state, but the county party would say, this is a red flag on this person. This is someone who just switched to Democrat. They've been a Republican all their lives, and we actually know this player, and they're up to no good. Again, so my concern is we do have some local patriots who have too much time in their hands, and we'd want to keep them out of the system, and we don't want them logging in. So it's more of a way to prevent their access.
You click report user. Click submit. And then let me log in as an admin. And it is not showing. Eric Vitale, where do we have the list of questionable? Oh, and we go to this page. All right, and here we have this person. I'm not going to take them out because they're they actually matter. But you can now, the best thing to do in here is you disable them. And if you mark it resolved, they go off the list. I'm keeping it here because I need to re-enable this after we're done. This user now cannot do anything in the system. And since each user must have a unique email, they cannot register again with that email. Now they can register tomorrow with another Gmail email, but we've at least stopped them from doing anything on this one. And this is the case of, no, you don't know what you're talking about. They're actually a great person.
And that's great. And in terms of not doing anything in the system, does that include not even viewing the calendar? Just
No,
totally.
even an anonymous user can come in and view upcoming events.
There may be events we don't want.
Oh, you can make
broadly-
it private. You can make events private, and if they're private, only people who are connected to that campaign or party, county party can be in.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, one giant thing, for those of you that get into the weeds, is everything about here on rights is done with claims, not roles. Okay, so this user has an admin claim on the Colorado State Party. For anything else, they're just another user, a volunteer. Okay, and these, the users can be whatever. The claim types are admin, organizer, trusted host, or host. So you give 30 people in your county party a host claim, if nothing else, they can now see all the private events. Okay, but someone can be an admin to another county party. They don't get to see that event because they don't have a claim on your party. That's why I said I built the framework to this thing that is capable of functionality way beyond what you need for a volunteer app. But it means when you come in with this other stuff, you can plug it in. And I want to respect your time. We have 1 minute left. I've got a giant question or an ask for all of you is, I think it's ready. Now, if a couple of you say, no, it's not, unless it has X in it, tell me. But if it is, I need some county parties and campaigns to start using it. And Melissa, you have your hand up. Please talk.
Yes, I have other volunteers. I'm the chair of Arapahoe County. We have volunteer coordinators who I think would be really helpful to hear this presentation and give some feedback. Things that are coming up for me are, can you set it so that, I want the Stonewall Dems to see my Arapahoe County specific Pride event and invite people, sort of, I want someone from Stonewall to be an admin on mine. And then after that, I want to remove them, those kind of interfacing type things. But yeah, my first comment is, can I share this with other people in my county?
You can share this with anybody. If you come and say that someone running for the state house in Wyoming in the reddest district in the entire state wants to use this for their campaign events, I will do a one-on-one demo with them and then get them set up with a screen share because they'll start using it. That's the level I'm at the moment. Now, once I have 20 county parties and campaigns doing it, that level of offer's off the table. But if I have to do a demo once a week for the next 2 months as people come into this and get up and running, happy to do that.
Okay.
So just tell me when. I'm officially retired. My wife will say that I don't act like it, but this is my world at the moment. I am having the time of my life. As long as no one else has a demo set up at the same time. I'll email everybody on this, the slideshow. I'll also email me my Calendly link. For those of you that aren't aware of it, it's a way to just set an appointment. You don't need to ask. If I have an opening at that time, set it. Tell me what you want to have happen in that meeting.
Okay, and I would suggest perhaps just make the recording, send the recording to us with the ability to share it.
Absolutely. I've got to scrape the beginning off where Derek and I were just shooting the shit. Sorry for the word language. But let me get that off and then I'll get it up on YouTube.
Okay, and then my last question is just, we are hitting a ceiling with MailChimp and wondering if this could be used as a way to send newsletters.
On that, it is really on Joe and Nicole to tell me with this, you've got one person, well, you got three of us, because Derek and Vitaly also, hopefully they're willing to keep working for me, with me. What you want next, and I don't think writing a MailChimp competitor is the best use of my time. And the best thing there is get somebody to write you a check. I know that's easier said than done, but it's like people pour way too much money into the marquee races and way too little money into all the stuff that is so bloody valuable and so bloody effective.
Yeah.
My soapbox.
Okay, at the risk of sidelining it, first of all, thank you very much for this. This is fantastic. I wasn't thinking a MailChimp competitor, but rather just a platform that isn't email as a way to send emails. That
if you want to start pulling together stuff for what this should do as a weekly newsletter that goes out, yes, please do. The only reason I haven't implemented that yet is I don't know exactly what all that should have. But, having something that goes out saying, based on your interest, this is the stuff coming up for the upcoming week, and you're following these two campaigns, and this is what they put in there as the news around the campaign. Yeah, everything is in there on the back end to do that.
Great, thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? All right, thank you all very, 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 very much for your time.
Thank you, David. This is very impressive.
Oh, thanks. It took longer than I thought, but yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Everything does take longer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I want to say thanks to the county folks who accepted the invitation with short notice and shorter explanation as to what was going on so that you could see this kind of open-minded and get an idea of this project that's been unfolding for, I think, over a year now, David, right? Like,
Yeah, it's about a year since I started
working on this. So I do hope that we